Okay, good evening, short story writers. Tonight we are continuing with the Briggs Myers types. I've got 6 left. And if you remember, this series is about the problems inherent in these kind of jobs and occupations. And if you also remember, should do because I say it often enough, and I'm going to continue to say it in the next 10 months in this year-long challenge. The problem is the story. And most jobs, not all of them, but most jobs involve solving problems because that's why they get hired. People have a problem, they want it solving, so they get someone in to solve it and they pay you a salary. So, we're up to we did the director yesterday, that would be management types and CEOs. But to me, they are a problem. Yes, my job in corporate IT Britain was less than stellar and less than enjoyable for me. But then I was not getting work according to my Briggs Myers type. I was definitely square pegging anything but any. I don't know. There was a hole there. They were just trying to drive me into a rock. Anyway, the next one is the performer. The performer. So performers not only would include actors and singers and dancers, but I would include in the kind of people who they're the public face of, for example, companies, the PR people, maybe even advertising people. They have to alter people's perceptions uh, with a kind of performance, and they may have troubles with their conscience. Hint for a story, you're doing PR work for a company and you start thinking, ooh, this doesn't sit very well with me. That could be the basis of a story. And the next one is the caregiver, and this obviously would include vets and anybody in any kind of medical profession, but it would also include people who are foresters, people who look after the land, people who look after shorelines, people who are involved in organisations such as the National Trust, and obviously those unsung heroes who are at home caring for a loved one who needs 24 hours or constant supervision, and people who do that for a profession, for foster parents also, and step parents. A step parent who does the job properly and is not like the bad stepmother in Cinderella, but somebody who genuinely goes in and does what is best for the stepchildren. And sometimes it could just be a spouse, being a caregiver, surrogate mother, surrogate father. I mean, okay, let's expand this to people who are counsellors, psychiatrists up to a point, the ones who are doing the job diligently, hypnotherapists, anybody in that kind of role. And what problems would they encounter? Well, they're surrounded by them. What problem could it cause for them? Shirley Valentine complex, perhaps, for one. And it could be that it hardens them so that they cease to care, or they start caring too much and they get drawn in and they've got to fight that. Right, the next one would be the champion, which would include the Greta Thunbergs or Greta Thunbergs of this world, the Gandhis, the Mother Teresa's, anybody who puts other people before them, but also, or other causes, but again, as with caregivers, thinking laterally would include people who maybe work for organizations such as the National Trust, people who work for Greenpeace, people who are willing to take a lot of risks for a cause that they believe very, very, very strongly in, and they're borderline martyrs, but for them the cause is more than themselves. So, at the moment, the British government is considering taking really, to my mind, ridiculous action against the Extinction Rebellion people. There's talk of declaring them to be a terrorist organisation, really, simply because they're doing something the government does not approve of or gets in their way, or there's a certain amount of cynicism there. And I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but there's a certain parallel with a certain president somewhere saying, oh, I've got unlimited powers, and if I don't like what you do, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make you pay for it, building walls and all that kind of stuff. This is cynical. It's not how a democracy is supposed to work. There's supposed to be a certain amount of debate, and protest is not an act of terrorism. However, clamping down on people's freedoms, it's arguable that that is, because that then frightens other parts of the population into behaving in other words, it subjugates them by filling them with terror. And that is the whole point of terrorism, isn't it? Is to make people behave in a certain way. Oh dear, 6:55. We got 3 more to go. We'll do those tomorrow because I went off on one there. I will say, as an author, you're not supposed to preach, but it's okay to have opinions. And Charles Dickens did. Charles Dickens did the famous line in Christmas Carol, the ghosts seek to intervene, but they are powerless to do so. But you have this opportunity in life, and these are my children, want and ignorance. And he did it also in the Pickwick Papers, where he showed I forget his name now, but he's in the pauper's prison and he has no shoes on. And he's kind of behaving in a carefree way, but you're drawn to his bare feet. The whole thing about the dowager schools in Nicholas Nickleby, the banishing of Magwitch in Great Expectations. He faces capital punishment for a very trivial crime. Dickens had very strong opinions, and he drew attention to them and initiated a certain amount of change in thinking, which led to, amongst other things, the Fabian Society, by illustrating these things in literature without being too sentimental about them. It's a throwaway line. It gets people thinking. It strikes a chord in them, and that is how you show your strong opinions. Don't preach, don't preach, don't preach, don't preach. So that's how not to write a story. Do not preach. Just draw attention to things, refer to them almost casually, and that will appall people much more than if you tell them, you should think this, you should think that, because that never works. That has the opposite effect. Okay, that's it. 8:57. I've gone over the 8 minutes mark. My apologies. Oh gosh, I've been eating chocolate. Have fun writing short. That's a problem. Yes. Oh no, it's just a shadow. Oh, that's okay. The wrinkles, they're starting to appear. Okay. Good night, and here's to your short story writing. And if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.